month of Av is divided into two. So the Zohar says that the month of Av is one of the harsh months of the year, one of the 3 harsh months. But actually, if you look at the month of Av, you'll see that it's divided into 2 parts. There's the first part of the month, till Tu B'Av, which is the 15th day of Av, which within that has the 9 days, which we mourn the destructions of the temple, and then finally the 9th and 10th day of Av, which was the actual destruction. And then it's another 5 days, and then the 15th day of Av begins a new process, which is 40 days before the beginning of, when we celebrate the beginning of creation, which is the 25th day of Elul. So the month is actually divided in half, up until the mid-cycle, the 15th day, and then forward. The sense of the month of Av is connected with the sense of hearing. And on the 15th day of Av, it was the great celebration when it was a time to find a mate. When, according to the Talmudic tradition, the men of Israel and the Israeli women would go out into the fields and they would choose mates on the 15th day of Av. Why would they choose mates during the 15th day of Av? Because that's the moment of inception. When there's intimacy, according to the Talmud, and there's the creation of a child, the formation of a child occurs 40 days after the moment of intimacy. 40 days before the 25th day of Elul, which is when we celebrate the beginning of the creation of the world, and then Rosh Hashanah, which is the creation of the human being, is 40 days before that is the 15th day of Av. That's the moment, the glimmer of the moment of intimacy. In practical terms, what this means is that in hearing, if we can be sensitive to hearing, the greatest destruction in the world between people is the lack of communication, where we don't know how to communicate, where we don't listen to another person, and there's a breakdown, there's a meltdown of communication. The greatest gift that we have is also communication. If we don't have communication, then we have destructions of the temples. If we learn to communicate and listen deeply to another person, we have the opening of true relationships. And that's why in Av, we have both these perspectives. On the one hand, we're celebrating complete destruction of everything sacred that we had, the destruction of the temple. And then the other half of the month, in the mid-month, we're saying that's the celebration of the moment that we're finding a spouse, we're finding love. Because it's part of the same issue, it's part of listening. If we listen deeply, then we find lasting love. We can find our soulmates. If we don't listen deeply, then we create destructions of the temple. And that's the idea why Av both has positive quality and negative quality. The positive is the negative is the first part of the month, and the second, it reflected in the first part of the month, and the positive is reflected in the second part of the month. And the idea of listening is to listen deeply and to really hear what the other person is saying. Not what you hear, what the other person is saying, and your projections on what the other person is saying, but to truly listen to the other. If you can truly listen to the other, you're opening yourself up to having a relationship and to finding lasting love.